The following program is complete nonsense. While the people and places are real, the events are entirely invented for comedy. Please do not cite this in your history paper, unless you want to fail creatively.
History insists the Roman Empire collapsed in the 5th century. Wrong. Rome didn't fall. It went west. All the way west, to the Wild West. Forget sheriffs and gunslingers. The dusty saloons of Texas weren't built by cowboys. They were built by centurions. Romans traded togas for ponchos, chariots for stagecoaches, and instead of marching on Gaul, they marched on Dodge City. Picture a frontier town with marble columns nailed onto the saloon, tumbleweeds rolling past temples of Jupiter, and gladiators trying to hitch their horses outside the local amphitheater. This wasn't the Old West. This was Rome, the sequel, the local watering hole. It was called the Forum Saloon and Grill. The sign was half in English, half in Latin. You didn't order whiskey, you ordered vino by the amphora. The bar was run by Julius Caesar himself, wearing a cowboy hat over his laurel wreath. If you wanted a drink, you had to say the password, Veni, Vidi, Vodka. Inside, the atmosphere was a mix of spaghetti western and toga party. A guy in the corner strummed a lyre instead of a piano. Cowboys shouted yeehaw, and Romans answered back, Hail Caesar. Sometimes they did both at once. The result was chaos. Law and order was complicated. Outlaws didn't get hauled in front of sheriffs. They were dragged into the Colosseum, which had been relocated and rebuilt somewhere outside Nevada. Instead of judges, they faced lions. If you got eaten, guilty. If you survived, also guilty, but with a discount coupon for the next show. Billy the Kid. He didn't duel sheriffs at high noon. He was forced to fight a gladiator named Maximus in front of a crowd of ranchers betting gold teeth. Instead of 6-shooters, the duel involved a lasso and a trident. History calls him an outlaw. Rome called him halftime entertainment. Senators, who once debated taxes in marble halls, now sat around poker tables and saloons. Instead of passing laws, they raised bets. The motion to annex cattle ranch number 42 passes. One would declare, laying down a royal flush, all in favor, say aye. The Senate always voted aye. And then there was Brutus. Betrayal didn't happen in the Senate this time. It happened at the poker table. Caesar leaned back, grinning, for aces in hand. Brutus tipped his cowboy hat, spat into the sawdust, and said, Eat two, partner. Caesar collapsed into the bar. The empire fell not with a bang, but with a bad hand. But Rome adapted. Gladiator fights went on, now with cowboy flair. One competitor wore spurs, the other carried a net. The crowd went wild as lariats tangled with swords. Are you not entertained? Someone shouted. The bartender answered, 2 drink, minimum. Taxes in the Wild West Roman Empire were brutal. You didn't just pay in coin, you paid in cattle, in spurs, even in mustache wax. The IRS Imperial Roman sheriffs rode through town collecting dues, shouting render unto Caesar. Or else, Rome even tried to expand. They annexed Wyoming by accident. A senator stood up and declared, I claim Gaul, but his translator misheard it as I claim Wyoming. By the time anyone noticed, the paperwork was filed. Wyoming remains the weirdest Roman province in history. Of course, religion followed too. Priests held mass in saloons, baptizing patrons with whiskey shots. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spurs. Jupiter himself allegedly appeared once, disguised as a rancher, complaining the sacrifices were late. The cowboys had to adjust. Duels at high noon were no longer winner-take-all. They had referees. A Roman centurion blew a horn and shouted the rules in Latin before anyone fired. By the time he finished, it was usually sunset. Commerce thrived. Senators opened banks with names like First Imperial Roman Trust of Tombstone. The currency, not dollars, not denarii, it was cattle chips, literally. The economy collapsed every time the cows wandered off. Even the language blended. Cowboys adopted Latin phrases. Howdy partner became salve amis. Bounty posters were written in both English and Latin. Prescriptus, Jesse Gemisus, reward. 300 sesterces. But, like all empires, the Wild West Roman Empire couldn't last. Outlaws grew stronger, gladiators kept unionizing, and the senators couldn't stop debating whether ranch dressing counted as a Roman invention. The final blow came during the Great Stampede of 83. The Roman cavalry clashed with cowboys in a massive Catalan chariot pileup. The Colosseum burned down after someone tried to lasso a lion. Caesar's saloon went bankrupt. Rome had fallen again, this time into the dirt of Dodge City. What remains today? Ghost towns with Latin graffiti. Saloon signs that say, Forum Saloon, established 42 BC. And every time a cowboy tips his hat and says, much obliged, a Roman ghost somewhere whispers back, gracias. So when you picture the Wild West, don't just imagine cowboys and sheriffs. Picture senators in togas at poker tables, gladiators riding broncos, and Caesar himself behind the bar. The frontier wasn't just wild, it was Roman, twice fallen, twice ridiculous, but unforgettable.